Everyone, welcome back to another video from Winter Forest. Today let's continue our React using TypeScript for beginner. And in my last tutorial, I have explained how to use class components to write a countdown. And today we are going to focus on React hook. So we're going to change this countdown to write it in React hook. Because React since the version 16.8, so React hook is efficiently and released. So and just let's go to our code. So instead of write class components, we're going to use state and use effect. The use state is replace previous the class components like this state. So since so first we're going to create a file. And this previous one called countdown. Now this one will create another countdown, but this one is functional components. I'll put a FC. And since this TypeScript, we say TSX. And we're going to write the function components. I have a ES7 this plugin installed. So if I type RC, RA React FC and functional components, then type, it will generate functional components for me. But I'm actually going to write I'm going to rewrite all of this into functional components. So for these functional components in React hook, when I talk about the stateless components, we actually expect this functional components returned is a function components. And for these functional components, we actually expect in this one, I didn't have a property, but I'm going to make it more useful. So I'm going to expect you provide a default value start to count down. So I'm going to, in here, I have the type set. Like I said, we could use interface, but I look around the tutorial, just simply use type. So we actually still need this type. And this is countdown property. So instead of call state, I need the property. Pops, it more makes sense. So and in here, I could distract it, have a minutes. And I'm going to say this is the initial start, so the minutes and default value and default minutes and default did I spell default correct? I check it. DEFAULT, DEFAULT, yeah, DEFAULT. Default minutes and default seconds for our start. And in here, I just distracted, so I don't need to type in pop dot. And just and now we're going to expect this and return type is functional components, and this function components accept the pop type. It is over there. Now and in here in class components we have a state, so we call it a state components have this, but in functional components we don't have this anymore. Instead we're going to use state, that is a custom hook, a React hook that's React provided. And for the life cycle method, we don't need to worry about a real mount, did mount, or via unmounted. We simply only need to use effect. This one will handle all of the life cycles. And then did you see in this component start, we're going to init the started value. And in here are going to constants also have the minutes, minutes, and this called set minutes to use state. And the default value, it is what you expect from here. When you start the minutes, we use the default minutes. So use this as the default value. And the constants seconds, SCE. Make sure I didn't have a spell issue. Even this not really matters. I look very unprofessional. Seconds, because I very easy spell no. And seconds. And seconds default value. In here we could put this in one object, but from React team they suggest you put in each time you only update one value. It is suggested you put in use state instead of have one object in there. But definitely you could do just in one object. And now we just use the effect to handle this set interval and clean interval. When this use effect started, the effect actually, the first parameter is a callback function, and the second thing is array. And this array accept the dependence which array will depend on the minutes and the seconds. And so each time minutes and seconds change, this use effect will be called again. So inside here are going to have in here we have the timer in here, but in here we actually just when this use effect started, I have this timer. Okay, I need still the timer. Set the interval, and then we have a callback. This callback going to the same logic put in here, and so the callback. This callback is each time is 1 second. 1 second have a call this callback, and inside this callback, we have this value check. We have a dependency the seconds. So the same logic in here we copied in here. Seconds greater than 0, and then we only set seconds equal to seconds minus 1, and if seconds equal to 0, 1, 2, 3, yeah, triple equal, and then we need to consider and the minutes. If minutes also equal to 0, and in this time we need to clean the timer, clean interval, and this timer. If no, then we go into 2 step and just set the minutes minus 1. Also set the seconds is 59. And if you haven't come to here finish, you already move away, then we need to clean this timer. And the clean timer is after this function. We just return a function. Clean timer, clean interval of timers. And this done part is exactly the same. We just rendered. And I also don't need to destruct it because these are functional components. I simply could visit, could view them, and it's exactly the same thing. But the code actually much clean, and you also don't need to worry about we did all of this life cycle, and now we just put it and see what it look like in here. Then we could input this one called content functional components. These functional components expect we have two property. One is the minutes going to start. How about we just put 1 minute, and then the seconds we put 20, and the minutes and seconds for started. Now we could simply run npm started. The started in here. And we just started to count it. This is the exactly functionality and the timer, but actually when you write a React hook, the code actually much simpler. Also, you don't need to worry about the component did mount, component will mount, component receive pops. So basically, we only the pops we're going to receive is working as our default value to start it, and this use effect will start in the first time init, then the second time going to count down. And if you haven't finished this countdown going to left, so we're going to clean the timer. If you stay here and the countdown until finish, you run the bust, and this timer also will be clean. And I think this is quite a nice code against you to write a class components. That is why Facebook just provided this awesome things for us. Thank you for watching. Hope you find it is useful. Bye bye.